This isn't the first time I've had to carry truffle on my shoulders. Had to carry her in mountains in Italy, had to carry her at Scaffold Pike in the Lake District. She's got some issues with her back legs, so gets a bit wobbly and needs a bit of extra support. Luckily, she's quite light, aren't you, Truffle? Huh, Truffle? Huh? Something I really love about Mallorca is their application of agroforestry. These ancient practices of people tending the landscape, growing tree crops to sustain ourselves. The olives, the carob, the citrus, the fruit trees everywhere. It's a beautiful thing, this relationship between people and trees, and that's how we can support biodiversity while supporting for our own needs. Look at this olive tree here. This is hundreds of years old. So if you imagine a tree that has lived for hundreds of years, every year going through the seasons, supporting countless thousands, if not millions of species, insects pollinating the flowers, mammals eating the fruit. A tree like this is an ecosystem, but an ecosystem over generations. Look back there at this moss growing on the rock. It doesn't seem very significant as a human, just a bit of moss growing on a rock. But without that moss growing there, the rock becomes dry and no life can grow on it. With moss growing on the rock, it holds moisture on the stone. It builds a bit of soil. It creates little crevices of fertility where a plant can grow up and live. And just in that small act, we can completely change the landscape, holding moisture on a large scale, supporting wildlife and creating these little ecosystems that have a big impact expanded across the land. Climbing up the mountain, you can see the plants here are the plants that are the most specialised, the plants that can grow in this strong winds, baked rock faces and severe growing conditions. So it's here where it's not the most competitive plants that win, it's the plants that are the most specialised, that can thrive in these difficult growing conditions. Wow. This is Stipa gigantea behind me, and if you can see that, only small cuts, but the leaves of this are razor sharp. As we climb higher and higher, the plants are changing. From euphorbia, olives, mastic, to pines and Stipa gigantea. So interesting to see the pattern of the Stipa gigantea, how it's hugging next to this cliff where there's been a bit of soil built and it can't establish where it's unstable. There's not enough soil for it to get rooted into the ground. However, it is building soil and stabilising the ground itself. As I move through a landscape, I like to tune in to how I feel in different spaces. How I feel when it's sheltered, when it's exposed, when I'm in a woodland to a cliffside and think, what's that like for the other life as well? What's that like for the mammals, the plants? And this is quite a helpful practice to then tune into the landscape when you're designing it or creating new landscapes. You always find leguminous shrubs in most landscapes. Truffle, what are you whinging about? Because they are taking up that role of improving the soil for other species to grow, improving the soil for trees to get established, like gorse, like broom. These are shrubs in the bean family that fix nitrogen into the soil through a relationship with rhizobium bacteria. It's incredible the energy that's gone into the stonework on this hike. There's incredible detailed paths of cobble, these huge stone walls, the terraces, the time people have put into caring for this landscape, building terraces so that soil can be built, it stops erosion and plants can grow. This relationship between people and the land is incredible, really.